Welcome back, it's Josh. We're teaching you how to combo today. Let me know if you learned it down below. The first thing you're going to need to know about Seele is how her extra turn mechanic actually works. Now, when you use a basic, a skill, or an ultimate, you will actually enter the extra turn and also the buffed state, which is going to increase the damage of your next action by a certain percent based on your talent level for one turn. Now, the big thing about this is that during your extra turn and when you activate your ultimate, it doesn't technically count as a turn itself, so your durations of your buffs won't decrease. And so what Seele is really about is dumping all of your powerful skills while you have as many buffs as possible to get as much value out of them. Try to focus on getting her to take as many actions while she has as many buffs as possible. So now that we're fully buffed up, you'll be able to see that we have damage boost, ultimate from Bronya, speed buff, all of these different buffs with all of these different durations, on many of them one turn each. However, if we activate our ultimate, we will see that we still have access to all of these buffs and it didn't take any of the duration of them off. They still all have 1 to 2 turns remaining. And if you look in the top left hand corner, you're able to see if you're on an extra turn or basically something as an action that does not count as a turn, because you will have these little stars in the character's portrait in that top left hand corner. And this is going to hold true for any other extra turn, not just activating the ultimate of Seele. As you can see, we defeated the enemy and we're still on this extra turn, and we'll know that because we still have the stars next to our character portrait in that top left hand corner. If we go ahead and check our buffs duration, we will see that even though they've changed spots, we still have access to the one turn buffs from Bronya and the buff from her light cone, while also gaining access to Resurgence, which gives us the buff of 60%. And then since we are level 60 and we have her talent, Quantum Res Pen as well. And even though we're on this extra turn, we're able to defeat another enemy and go to our normal turn, in which we will be able to once again check our buffs and see that we still have access to every single buff on Seele still. And as we're not on an extra turn currently, as designated by there is no stars in our portrait in the top left hand corner on the turn meter, this turn, if we defeat an enemy as well, we will also go into, once again, another extra turn. And as we're on an extra turn, you will still see that we have our buffs all the way back from when we first took our original turn. And yes, you can loop this back around as many times as you want, as long as you can defeat enemies and generate ultimate gauge. So while you're learning to combo Seele, one of the main things you need to take notice of is if you're actually on an extra turn or not, due to Resurgence not being able to grant you an extra turn if you are already on an extra turn. Basically, if you have the stars in the top left hand corner of the turn meter and you defeat an enemy and you're not currently using your ultimate, you know that you will not be able to generate an extra turn. So now that we know the basics of this, how do we break it? And we're going to be doing two things for this. Number one, like we talked about before, keeping track of your buffs and getting the most bonuses from them so you can generate extra turns and have all of the buffs on you the entire time. The second factor is your ability to manage your skill usage and your ultimate generation gauge. For instance, right now, right here, I could generate extra turns, defeat some enemies, use my ultimate, do all that great stuff. I'd be doing two things though. I'd be spending all of my skill points, and I would be doing that before I put all of my buffs up. In a lot of circumstances, what I like to do with Seele is make sure I have all of my buffs and as many skill points as I can possibly have before I go in and generate all of these turns and combo off. And Seele is usually going to be the fastest character in your party. So in general, and this could change, what I usually do is just use her basic attack on the first turn, and then you can go ahead with whatever teammates you have in this team composition. We have 3 Harmony characters for all of the buffs in the world. We're going to buff her up with Ting, and then when we get to Asta, well, we'll be able to buff up everyone right now with Bronya's ultimate, and then go on a rampage with our Seele. That should be enough for us to dominate most of these monsters and enemies. So let's do that. It's also going to prevent all the incoming damage that we're going to have from these 2 enemies who are going to take their turn before Bronya does. So let's target this Fire Weak monster and then activate our Seele ultimate. Sele's going to take a turn, and she's going to be able to generate a Resurgence turn here. So let's do just that. Let's take this guy out and generate 1 extra turn, and then take this guy off with our final remaining turn. This will let Bronya take her turn now, and she can push up Seele, who's ready to rock and roll again. And if we check our buffs, we will see that we actually haven't lost the duration of any of our buffs. That's because our ultimate and the extra turn generated from it aren't going to decrease the timers of any of these buffs. So now that we're here again, if we go back, we'll see we have 2 enemies and we have 55 energy remaining. We need an additional 65 to fill up our ultimate gauge, and we only have 1 skill point. So if we use a basic attack, that'll generate 20 for us. A skill will generate 30. That's only 50, but each enemy that we defeat is also going to generate another 10. So if we use 1 skill, 1 basic, and defeat both of them, that will get us 70 energy, which is more than enough to fill up our ultimate meter for the next round. So let's just defeat this with a basic attack, and then defeat this guy with a skill, and we'll have our ultimate meter ready to rock and roll right here. We also have Ting Yun's ultimate, which is going to help give us some energy back, so we can start comboing out on these enemies as well. And I do think that we're pretty powerful right now. As you can see, the only thing we really lost as a buff are the 2 1-turn buffs from Brania's skill in her light cone. We still have her ultimate ability there, a benediction, as well as the buff from Resurgence itself. So let's drop it right into the boss, crit, and then give her a damage bonus and refill some of her ultimate gauge with Ting Yun here. And then hopefully this will be enough of a damage bonus to take her out, and then we can generate an extra turn from Resurgence off of this enemy in the middle. Now that we have an extra turn, we can see that we need, well, just a little over 20 energy, 23 to be exact, which is enough for us to gain access to our ultimate from a basic that defeats this enemy, activate the ultimate, and that's going to be the full combo on every single enemy in this little domain. Now, as far as characters that are good at facilitating this combo playstyle, we're going to have access to characters like Ting Yun, who's fantastic for this, as we have the skill Soothing Melody that's going to give us a nice 3-turn buff, which is going to last a very long time, considering all of the extra turns we take aren't going to be decreasing this. It's also going to make us do extra lightning damage, which is pretty nice as well. And then her ultimate ability is going to help us do even more damage by giving us a 2-turn damage buff, but also helps us continue the combo chain because it is going to regenerate 50 energy for Seele. But on top of that, we also have access to characters like Brania, who has a very powerful but very skill point cost hungry ability in combat redeployment, which is going to dispel a debuff from our Seele and give her a very large 1-turn damage buff that we can fully utilize throughout the entire combo of our extra turns. And then, as you saw as well, it also allows you to push Seele up after she's gotten buffs from every other character in our party, or after your debuffers have landed debuffs on the enemy. Her ultimate also is going to give us a giant attack as well as crit damage increase, which is going to last quite a long time as well. But those aren't the only characters we can utilize with Seele. Let's go talk about some other ones. We also have Asta here, who's going to do a couple of things. Mainly, we're going to be getting large attack stacks from her talent ability. She can also shield break enemies and push them back, allowing us to combo out on them for longer. We can end the combo chain with our Seele, get all of our buffs back up, and start the combo chain once again. And that is also helped out by her ultimate ability, which can give a giant speed buff to our entire party as well. So Asta, even though she doesn't have the giant buffs like some of the other characters we talked about, she just has that attack buff. She's going to help facilitate the fast combo playstyle of a Seele party. Pela is another great character. Even though she's not a buffer, she's a sub damage dealer who has the very powerful ability to shred enemies' weaknesses. Now, she has the ability in her technique, Preemptive Strike, that is going to lower enemies' defense by 20% for 2 turns. And then she also does have her ultimate ability, Zone Suppression, which is going to be a 32% plus defense break for 2 turns as well. We're going to get maximum value from these defense breaks because our Seele is going to be taking and generating so many extra turns in action. So if you're lacking some of the other buffer options, definitely look towards Pela to help your Seele team out. Another fantastic support for the Seele team is Welt. Now, Welt is going to be sort of the opposite of Asta, as Asta has the attack buff and the speed buff and some of the shield breaking capabilities. Welt can be a shield breaker as well against imaginary weak enemies, but unlike Asta, who has speed buff and attack buff, Welt has so many different ways to speed down the enemy. We have his skill, which has a speed down, ultimate, which has a speed down, his technique, which has a movement speed down, but also can imprison enemies, which is going to delay their actions and also reduce their speed as well. So Welt's going to help you shield break, do some additional damage, as well as make sure you have that nice tempo combo playstyle in your Seele party. Now, you don't need all of these characters in your party with Seele for it to combo out, but these are the best ones that I would look forward to putting into my party if I was going to try to do a little bit of combo action. And with that, we should know how to combo Seele pretty much perfectly. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.